Excuse me. I am standing right at the warm tree-lined entrance of the legendary Madison Square Park in midtown Manhattan, on the warm gravel path winding softly through the green lawns toward the warm fountain plaza for the very first time. And I want to step softly into the park and find the most beautiful warm bench of the evening like a local, but I do not know what to say in English.
Hi, I am Emma. Today's English is slow and easy. Just relax and listen along. Have you ever stepped softly onto a warm tree-lined path of a legendary historic park? Looked down the long warm path winding softly through the green lawns toward the warm fountain. And just paused. The warm tree-lined paths glowing softly under the warm evening light, the soft sound of footsteps drifting gently across the warm gravel, the warm golden sunset light spilling softly across the green lawns of Madison Square Park, the legendary warm fountain glowing somewhere just inside, the soft hum of friendly Madison Square Park rangers walking softly along the paths, the gentle hum of midtown Manhattan drifting softly along the warm wooden benches. And you thought, I want the best warm bench in this whole park. But how do I even find it? Where do the locals actually sit? What if I sound like a clueless tourist? Today, Hannah is going to step softly onto one of the most iconic green spaces in all of New York City. Madison Square Park in midtown Manhattan, the legendary historic park born in 1847 right here in the heart of Midtown. Warm tree-lined paths, warm green lawns, warm fountain glowing softly, warm wooden benches scattered softly across the park, the warm cinematic midtown Manhattan atmosphere, the whole heart of Midtown breathing softly inside one legendary historic park at Madison Square Park. And here is the magic part. Hannah is going to use one tiny, polite phrase with a friendly Madison Square Park ranger that will turn a packed park path into her personal Madison Square Park evening tour and find her the most beautiful warm bench in the whole park. You can use this exact phrase the next time you want the best spot at any park, anywhere in the world. So grab your walking shoes. Let us step softly into Madison Square Park. Welcome back to Easy English with Emma. Today, Hannah is starting her warm bright evening hour at the warm tree-lined entrance of the legendary Madison Square Park in midtown Manhattan, stepping in from the warm evening sidewalk beneath the leafy green park trees toward the warm fountain glowing softly just inside. In front of her, the warm tree-lined paths glowing softly under the warm evening light, the warm green lawn spreading softly under the warm patio sunlight, the warm golden sunset light spilling softly across the warm fountain of Madison Square Park, the long warm path winding softly toward the warm fountain plaza, the soft hum of friendly Madison Square Park rangers walking softly along the paths, the soft sound of footsteps drifting gently across the warm gravel, the gentle hum of midtown Manhattan drifting softly across the warm wooden benches, the warm cinematic midtown Manhattan atmosphere wrapping around the whole park, the warm soft glow of the Madison Square Park lampposts shining gently above, the soft hum of the warm fountain bubbling softly across the warm plaza, and the warm magical midtown Manhattan atmosphere wrapping around the whole legendary historic park. She has 3 missions. 1. Step softly onto the warm tree-lined paths of Madison Square Park and ask a friendly ranger about the park. 2. Walk softly to the warm fountain plaza and ask a friendly Madison Square Park ranger about the most beautiful warm bench in the whole park. 3. Find a warm reading bench under the warm green canopy and ask a friendly older Madison Square Park ranger for the best midtown Manhattan evening tips. In the US, UK, Canada, and Australia, stepping into a famous historic park like Madison Square Park can feel overwhelming. Long warm paths winding softly through the green lawns, warm tree-lined paths, warm fountain glowing softly just inside, joggers and locals from all over the world. But do not worry. With the right polite phrases, even the busiest ranger at Madison Square Park will smile and share the most beautiful warm bench of the evening. By the end of this video, you will be able to step softly into a real New York City historic park like Madison Square Park with confidence. Use the magic phrase to ask a friendly ranger for the best warm bench, not just any bench. Talk about real midtown Manhattan parks. Warm tree-lined paths, warm fountain, warm green lawns, warm wooden benches, warm reading corner. In simple, natural English, and enjoy Madison Square Park like a real midtown Manhattan local. Ready? Let us step softly into Madison Square Park. Here are today's 5 Madison Square Park key phrases. Repeat each one after me. Nice and slow. Key phrase 1. Best free seat in the park. Best free seat in the park. Beautiful. This is today's magic phrase. Use it with a friendly ranger at Madison Square Park. Or any ranger at any park, garden, or green space in the world. Instead of, where can I sit? Or is there a bench? You are asking for the best free seat in the whole park. Suddenly that ranger becomes your personal Madison Square Park evening guide. Key phrase 2. What's the best way to enjoy Madison Square Park? What's the best way to enjoy Madison Square Park? Lovely. Use this with any friendly ranger at Madison Square Park. Asking about the best way to enjoy. Instead of just, what do I do? Invites the ranger to share the real story behind the warm tree-lined paths, the legendary warm fountain, the warm wooden benches, and the long history of the legendary historic park born in 1847 right here in Midtown. Key phrase 3. Could you recommend the perfect spot for the sunset? Could you recommend the perfect spot for the sunset? Great! Use this at the warm fountain Plaza of Madison Square Park. A small open question turns a quiet ranger into a whole evening of Madison Square Park tips. The warm tree-lined paths, the warm reading bench, the warm green lawn corner, the perfect moment that Midtown Manhattan locals love. Key phrase 4. Where do locals actually sit and relax? Where do locals actually sit and relax? Perfect. A super useful phrase at any famous park in New York City. Asking where locals actually sit and relax. Instead of just, where can I sit? Get you the warm wooden bench tucked softly under the warm green canopy, the warm reading bench facing the warm fountain, the perfect spot for your Madison Square Park evening moment. Simple, friendly, and works at every park in Manhattan and beyond. Key phrase 5. What's the best Madison Square Park classic to see? What's the best Madison Square Park classic to see? Wonderful. Use this with a friendly older ranger near the back of the Madison Square Park paths. The park has layers. The warm fountain glowing softly, the warm tree-lined paths, the warm reading bench, the warm green lawns, the warm sunset corner. Asking this tiny question turns a friendly ranger into your personal Madison Square Park evening planner. One small question, a whole evening of insider tips at Madison Square Park. These 5 phrases are gold for Madison Square Park. And for any park, garden, or green space in the world. Now let us see Hannah use them at Madison Square Park. Alright. Hannah has just stepped softly onto the warm tree-lined entrance of the legendary Madison Square Park in Midtown Manhattan, the warm sunset light wrapping around her instantly. The bright warm park glows softly around her. The warm tree-lined paths glowing softly above her, the warm green lawn spreading softly under the warm patio sunlight, the warm golden sunset light spilling softly across the warm fountain plaza, the long warm path winding softly toward the warm fountain just ahead, the soft hum of footsteps drifting gently across the warm gravel, the gentle hum of midtown Manhattan drifting softly across the warm wooden benches. Right by the warm tree-lined entrance to the park stands David. A friendly Madison Square Park ranger in his late 30s with warm tan skin, short dark hair, kind eyes, and an easy welcoming smile, wearing a plain dark green short-sleeved ranger polo under a plain dark green ranger vest, his hands resting easily near a small ranger podium, looking up with a warm patient smile as Hannah steps softly onto the warm path.
Hi. Sorry to bother you. Wow, this is my first time at Madison Square Park. This place is beautiful.
Welcome to Madison Square Park. You picked a great moment. The evening light is just starting, perfect golden hour in midtown Manhattan. Is this your very first evening at the park?
Yes. I just walked over from a dinner at the burger spot on the edge of the park. What's the best way to enjoy Madison Square Park?
Great question. Here at Madison Square Park, the very first thing every visitor should do is step softly onto the warm tree-lined path, look up at the warm green canopy glowing softly above, and just breathe. The warm tree-lined paths, the warm green lawns, the warm golden sunset light spilling softly across the warm fountain. Take a slow breath. Look up at the warm green canopy. Then walk softly down the warm path when you're ready. The rangers here know every corner of the whole park.
Wow, the warm fountain. And the warm tree-lined paths. Is this really the original 1847 Madison Square Park?
You got it. The warm tree-lined paths of Madison Square Park have welcomed visitors in midtown Manhattan since 1847. The warm wooden benches, the warm fountain plaza, the warm golden sunset light spilling softly across the green lawns. Locals have been strolling these paths since 1847. Meet me at the warm fountain in Madison Square Park. That line means home to every midtown local. That's the heart of Madison Square Park.
That sounds amazing. Should I walk softly to the fountain next?
Absolutely. And one more tip. My buddy Marcus is working the warm fountain plaza this evening. 20 years working Madison Square Park. Tell him David at the entrance sent you. He knows every bench in the park since the early days. He'll find you the most beautiful warm bench of the evening.
Wow, thank you so much, David. You just turned the Madison Square Park entrance into my whole orientation.
That's what we do here. Welcome to Madison Square Park. And welcome to Midtown Manhattan.
Wonderful, Hannah. Look at how she started. Hi. Sorry to bother you. Wow, this is my first time at Madison Square Park. This place is beautiful. 3 tiny ideas, but they do so much work. Sorry to bother you plus first time plus a real compliment about Madison Square Park. That's a magic combo at any park in the world. David instantly wanted to help. Then the big one. What's the best way to enjoy Madison Square Park? Notice. She did not say. What should I do? Or where do I go? She asked specifically about the best way to enjoy Madison Square Park. Those exact words turned David from a quiet ranger into her personal Madison Square Park orientation guide. Also notice. Hannah asked a beautiful follow-up question. And the warm tree-lined paths. Is this really the original 1847 Madison Square Park? That tiny question gave her the 1847 story, the meet me at the warm fountain tradition, the heart of the warm tree-lined paths, and a personal recommendation to find Marcus at the warm fountain. 1 question is good. 2 questions turn a ranger into a guide. Use these phrases anywhere. At a park, at a garden, at a green space, at Madison Square Park in Midtown Manhattan, anywhere in the world. Politeness plus asking about the best way to enjoy with real curiosity equals friends and incredible local tips. Hannah walks softly from the warm tree-lined entrance of Madison Square Park down the warm gravel path to the legendary warm fountain plaza just inside, the warm sunset light wrapping around her as she steps softly onto the plaza. The fountain plaza hums warmly with the soft sound of water bubbling softly, gentle midtown chatter, and the soft sweep of the warm evening breeze drifting gently across the warm gravel. Just past the warm fountain of Madison Square Park, the warm golden sunset light spreads softly across the green park lawns, the warm cinematic midtown Manhattan atmosphere stretching softly in every direction, the gentle hum of Madison Square Park all around. At the warm fountain plaza, Marcus, a friendly veteran Madison Square Park ranger in his 50s with kind eyes, warm olive skin, dark hair lightly graying at the temples, and a calm welcoming smile, wearing a plain dark green short-sleeved ranger polo under a plain dark green ranger vest, stands with one hand resting easily on the warm stone edge of the fountain, the warm golden sunset light pouring softly across the plaza behind him, looking up with a warm patient smile.
Hi. Sorry to interrupt. David at the entrance sent me over. He said you're the man for the most beautiful warm bench in the whole park.
Ah, David. Of course he did. He sends all the first-timers over to the fountain. Welcome to Madison Square Park. What can I do for you?
Marcus, best free seat in the park?
Oh, with pleasure. Easy answer. The warm wooden reading bench under the warm green canopy on the north side of the warm fountain plaza. From that warm bench, you'll see the warm fountain glowing softly in front of you, the warm tree-lined paths winding softly across the green lawns, the warm golden sunset light spreading softly across the whole park. That warm bench has watched Midtown Manhattan since 1847. That's the legendary Madison Square Park warm bench.
That sounds incredible. And could you recommend the perfect spot for the sunset?
Now that's the right question. For the sunset, walk softly to the warm wooden bench under the warm green canopy. Sit gently on the warm reading bench. Let the warm golden sunset light spread softly across the warm fountain plaza in front of you. Then, and this is the secret, wait just a few quiet minutes after the sun touches the rooftops of Midtown Manhattan. Warm golden first, then a gentle warm pink across the warm green lawns. There's a famous moment every Midtown local loves. Warm tree-lined paths, warm fountain glowing softly, warm reading bench, warm sunset light. Right here at the warm fountain plaza of Madison Square Park. That's the perfect Midtown evening moment.
That sounds magical. How long have you been working at Madison Square Park?
20 years. Started right here at the fountain when the warm wooden benches were still small. Same legendary historic park. Same warm tree-lined paths. Same warm golden glow across Madison Square Park. The faces on the paths change, but Madison Square Park stays the same. That's why we love it in Midtown Manhattan.
Wow, Marcus, where do locals actually sit and relax?
Right at the warm wooden reading bench under the warm green canopy on the north side of the fountain. Sit softly on the warm bench, watch the warm fountain glowing softly, breathe in the warm golden sunset light, watch the warm cinematic Midtown Manhattan atmosphere stretching softly across the green park. That's the Madison Square Park way.
Thank you so much, Marcus.
Walk softly to the back corner of the warm green lawn. My buddy Henry is working the warm reading corner tonight. Older gentleman, very kind. Tell him Marcus sent you.
Amazing. Look at what just happened at the warm fountain plaza of Madison Square Park in Midtown Manhattan. Hannah did not just find a bench. She got the whole story of the park. The most beautiful warm bench, the perfect spot for the sunset, the warm reading bench, the warm green canopy, the 1847 tradition, the 20 years on the paths. And a personal introduction to Henry in the warm reading corner. Why did the magic phrase work so well? Best free seat in the park? Let us break it down. Best equals curious. Soft, warm, friendly. Marcus relaxed instantly. Free seat equals grounded. You are asking for a real bench, not just any spot. Free seat makes Marcus smile. You are asking like a real local who knows park benches are gold. In the park equals specific. You are showing you trust Marcus's daily knowledge of every bench at Madison Square Park. Also notice. Hannah mentioned. David at the entrance sent me over. That tiny phrase is golden at a famous park. It tells Marcus. Hey, I'm already part of the Madison Square Park family. Suddenly the whole park is on your team. And the simple line. Where do locals actually sit and relax? Confident, soft, polite. A small open question is the gentlest way to invite a whole midtown Manhattan evening ritual. Use these reactions everywhere in Manhattan and beyond. Hannah walks softly from the warm fountain plaza around to the warm reading corner at the back of Madison Square Park, the warm golden sunset light softening as she moves along the warm tree-lined path. The reading corner glows softly with warm evening light, a small warm wooden bench tucked softly along the edge of the warm green lawn facing the warm fountain plaza, the gentle hum of midtown Manhattan drifting softly across the green park. Right at the warm reading corner, in a warm pocket of the bench facing the warm green lawn, stands Henry. A friendly older Madison Square Park ranger in his 60s with kind eyes, neatly combed silver hair, warm fair skin, and a wide easy smile, wearing a plain dark green short-sleeved ranger polo under a plain dark green ranger vest, gently resting one hand on the warm wooden bench, the warm sunset light glowing softly behind him, a few other midtown locals drifting softly past the warm corner.
Hi. Excuse me, sorry to interrupt. Marcus at the fountain sent me over. This is my first evening at Madison Square Park, and he said you're the man for the late evening tips.
Marcus sent you? Then welcome to Madison Square Park. 25 years working this warm reading corner in Midtown Manhattan, and a first-timer at the bench is still my favorite kind of guest. What can I do for you?
Henry. What's the best Madison Square Park classic to see?
Beautiful question. Okay. Here's how locals enjoy an evening at Madison Square Park. First, always the warm fountain plaza with the warm golden sunset light. The warm cinematic Midtown Manhattan evening moment. Then, walk softly along the warm tree-lined path to the warm reading bench under the warm green canopy. Then, for after, lean softly back on the warm wooden bench and watch the warm city lights softly begin to glow across Midtown Manhattan. That's a perfect Madison Square Park evening.
That sounds magical, Henry. Is Madison Square Park always this peaceful?
Pretty much. Madison Square Park is the beating heart of Midtown Manhattan in New York City. Neighborhood regulars, tourists with cameras, office workers on their late evening break, families on the way home, locals who've been coming since the early days. And on a warm summer sunset, the warm tree-lined paths fill softly with people from all over New York City. That's why Madison Square Park stays warm and peaceful all year long.
Wow. Where do locals actually sit and relax?
Most warm evenings, locals drift right to the warm wooden reading bench at the back corner of the warm green lawn facing the warm fountain. Some sit quietly with a book. Some lean against the warm wooden bench and watch the warm sunset light softly drift across Midtown Manhattan. Some just sit quietly and watch the warm city lights softly begin to glow across the green park. That warm corner is the warm living room of Madison Square Park. The perfect spot just steps from the warm fountain plaza.
That's amazing. What's the best way to enjoy Madison Square Park?
Great question. Sit softly. Hold a quiet breath. Breathe in the warm sunset light. Watch the warm cinematic midtown Manhattan atmosphere stretching softly across Madison Square Park. Listen to the gentle hum of midtown Manhattan drifting softly across the warm tree-lined paths. Don't rush. Don't take photos for 5 whole minutes. Just sit and look. That's the Madison Square Park way.
Wow, Henry. Thank you so much. You just made my whole evening at Madison Square Park.
Sit softly, watch slowly, and come back to Madison Square Park anytime. Every evening at Madison Square Park is a different New York story.
Wonderful. Hannah just stepped softly into one of the most iconic green spaces in all of New York City. Madison Square Park in Midtown Manhattan, the legendary historic park born in 1847. And used 5 tiny, polite phrases to find the most beautiful warm bench, the perfect spot for the sunset, and a personal evening plan from Henry in the warm reading corner of the legendary historic park. Notice. The biggest phrase of the day was, "Best free seat in the park." It worked perfectly with Marcus at the warm fountain plaza. The words, "Best free seat in the park," are the secret. They work at any park, any garden, any green space, anywhere in the world. Politeness plus asking for the best free seat in the park equals friendly rangers turn into guides, friends, and personal evening leaders. At Madison Square Park, in Midtown Manhattan, in any city, in any country. Okay. Now it is quiz time. Quiz time. When Hannah stepped softly into Madison Square Park in Midtown Manhattan, she could have just said, "Where can I sit? Or is there a bench?" Instead, she used one little phrase that turned a packed park path into her personal Madison Square Park evening tour and found her the most beautiful warm bench in the whole park. Warm tree-lined paths, warm fountain glowing softly, warm wooden bench facing the warm sunset light. What was that magic phrase? A. Where can I sit? B. Best free seat in the park. C. Is there a bench? Write A, B, or C in the comments right now. I read every single comment and I will reply to let you know if you got it right. Amazing work today, everyone. Now you have 5 powerful phrases that will turn any park and any friendly ranger anywhere in the world into a smooth, warm, beautiful moment. Best free seat in the park. What's the best way to enjoy Madison Square Park? Could you recommend the perfect spot for the sunset? Where do locals actually sit and relax? What's the best Madison Square Park classic to see? Remember, Madison Square Park in Midtown Manhattan, the legendary historic park born in 1847, has been the green heart of Midtown since 1847. The warm tree-lined paths, the warm fountain glowing softly, the warm wooden benches, the warm green lawns, the warm reading corner, the long warm paths winding softly through the green park. With these 5 phrases, you don't just visit Madison Square Park. You become part of the story of Midtown Manhattan. If this video helped you, please hit that like button and subscribe to Easy English with Emma. It seriously means the world to me. And next time, Hannah is going to walk softly out of Madison Square Park in Midtown Manhattan and start her warm, bright morning hour at one of the most legendary coffee spots in all of New York City. Starbucks. The world-famous American coffee chain beloved for its warm green logo, its warm cinnamon dolce latte, its creamy caramel macchiato, its warm cozy seating, its warm friendly baristas, and the warm magical morning atmosphere that has made Starbucks one of the most iconic coffee spots in all of America. Wait till you hear the one polite phrase Hannah uses with a friendly Starbucks barista that turns a packed morning line into her personal Starbucks coffee tour and scores her the perfect warm cup of the morning. Warm cinnamon dolce latte, creamy caramel macchiato, warm cozy seat by the window. You will use this exact phrase the next time you want the best coffee at any Starbucks, anywhere in the world. See you next time. Bye bye.